folks, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now, I've been lucky enough to be riding the 390 Duke for the last few weeks, and I've really got to know the bike. I've ridden it in all sorts of conditions, in town, in country, in the wet, in the dry, that sort of thing. Short journeys, long, you name it, I've done it. And I've really enjoyed having the bike, and sadly it's going to have to go back to those nice people at KTM UK soon. However, before we do that, I wanted to bring you this, my latest long-term review on the bike. And in this video, what I'm going to do is tell you what it's like to, to actually live with the motorcycle. So, what is the thing like at night? What's it like in the wet? What's it like on fast roads? What's it like on country roads? All that kind of stuff. Then also I'm going to talk a little bit about how much it costs to run the thing. And then also at the end of the video, I'm going to go through the pros and cons, the things I found out that you wouldn't necessarily find out if you just rode the bike on a 1-hour test ride. So stick around and stay tuned, and I'll let you know what I think to the 390 Duke. So this sort of bike really is very much designed for the urban environment. So what's she like around town? Well, as you might expect, pretty jolly good. It's so lightweight, it's easy to feed through traffic, and there's nothing intimidating about the bike. If you need to stop suddenly like I just did there, the brakes work perfectly well. You can get through little gaps. You're sitting nice and high up on it so you can see around well. Okay, it's not exactly the busiest town in the world, but you get the general idea. If you want a bike to get you to work, which includes some commuting in the urban environment, then this bike will be no problem whatsoever. Don't know if you can hear through the microphone that obviously I've got in the helmet, but the fan has just switched on, which is a problem that I highlighted in the KTM RC390 that I had for long-term loan. That fan seemed to come on very, very early. Well, this is the first time I've noticed actually that this fan has come on at all, so it's not a problem in the little 390 Duke, because it comes on nowhere near as often, but it's still there and it's quite loud, so it's not a big deal, but just something you notice that I don't necessarily notice on other bikes. Nice Cobra. Well, I have to say that it's not a particularly warm day today. I suppose about 24 degrees, so if the fan's coming on in Blighty in 24 degrees, if you live in a hot country, it may be more of an issue, but it's certainly not a problem here. Now, I did get to ride the little KTM 390 Duke quite a lot in the wet. As you can see, there's been some absolutely foul weather of late, and so I got a good test on the bike. Unfortunately, the weather was so foul, the water got into my mic connections, and meant that the commentary that I did as I was taking this bit of footage never came out, which is a bit of a shame, but at least I got the footage. The good news is there is absolutely no surprises on the little KTM riding it in the wet. The tyres, the OEM tyres, pretty confidence inspiring. Of course, physics will take over, even though this has got ABS and stuff, so you have to ride it, with due regard for the prevailing conditions. But the little Duke 390 was no more tricky to ride in the wet than any other comparable bike, so absolutely no issues to report there. So what about fuel economy on the little Duke then? Well, according to the splendid TFT screen that I've now configured to show me all sorts of things, including its fuel economy, is saying I'm getting 56.7 miles per gallon, which to me doesn't sound that great actually. I expected to get more out of it than that, it being a fairly small engine single cylinder bike. I was thinking I'd be getting in the 60s. Now it has to be said, I haven't been riding it particularly slowly, so I'm kind of absolutely thrashing it, to be fair. So we'll see over the next week or so while I've still got the bike if I better that, but at the moment it's saying 56.7. So I'm just going to go in here now and fuel up and just see if there's any surprises at the fuel station. Sometimes bikes can be a right pain in the backside depending on what the fuel cap's like. So let's see how this one works. It looks fairly straightforward, it has to be said. Right, neutral. Off. Okay, so cap looks straightforward. I'm not sure if it hinges or comes completely off. Let's find out. Okay, hinges. Nice, and nice solid feel as well. It's there's nothing flimsy about that. So yeah, that's great. All right, I'll get her fueled up, and then we'll see how the fuel range changes. Right. I know it's bad form to sit on the bike while you fuel it up, but on this occasion, I'm going to. I apologise for any health and safety people watching. God, I love the smell of petrol. Right, looks full to me. Nice and solid, that cap, I like it. Right, what I want to do now is see how quickly it registers that I've got fuel in it, because some bikes I've noticed take a while to register. Look, it's instantly, just turn it on and it's instantly showing full now. Excellent. Right, we're in neutral. Right, let's see what range the little bike thinks it's going to give me. So, looking down at the fuel range that I've now got set up on here, it's saying 186 miles out of a tank. So, okay, so the fuel economy may not be quite as good as I thought, but 186 miles out of a tank full, if that's true, that's a pretty useful range. Another little practical thing I like to do on these long-term tests is just check what the bike is like to lug around in car parks and so on. Now, I'm not anticipating any issue at all with this bike because it's a lightweight little thing, but let's just stick it here and see what it's like to manhandle around. Alrighty, down she goes. Alright, so yeah, it's something like 148 kilograms dry, so it's not a light bike. There's no grab handles, or sorry, it is a very light bike. There are no grab handles at the back, but there is a bit of frame there you can get hold of. But this is all pretty substantial feeling, so it's no issue just to lift the bike up with that. And then if you want to move it around, it's got an excellent turning circle on this. You know, full lock. And there we go, look, just within a parking space, I'm basically getting it around to 90 degrees. There we go, and then that's pretty impressive. A standard UK parking space, which is not wide, you can actually turn the thing around in 2 points, and it is, as I expected, very, very light to move around, not an issue at all. On my gravel driveway it's absolutely fine, car park's no problem. If you're a small or light person, a bit wimpy, you ain't gonna have a problem with the 390 Duke in terms of moving it around. I say man handling, it could be woman handling as well, of course.
So all that stuff's all very well, but what's it actually like to own the bike in terms of cost? How much is this thing going to actually cost if you want to own and run the thing? Well, I've done a little bit of research to look into the things that you can get cost for, and this is what I've found. So the first thing, road tax. This being sub 600cc, that means this one's going to cost you £41 per annum. So, you know, what's that, about £3 a month, something like that. Not a great deal of money. So that's excellent. Servicing on this, it's at 600 miles for its first service, you know, after the running in period, which is pretty standard on all bikes. And then it's servicing every 6,000 miles. Now, of course, costs vary for servicing depending on the labour charges that your dealer actually charges. But talking to KTM, they anticipate that around £200 for a dealer service on the bike. Of course, one of the major costs of running any motorcycle is, of course, insurance. So this time in this review, I've actually gone to my friends at Principal Insurance and got them to do a quote for me if I were to ride this bike. So, of course, it's only indicative. It's only correct at the time that I got the quote, and it only applies to somebody like me. I'm late 40s, keep the bike in a garage in a relatively nice area, etc. So you have to scale this up or down depending on what you like, where you live and so on, what your risk profile is. But Principal has said to me that if I wanted to insure this bike, it would cost me £116.06 per year. That's with a £250 excess, and based on my, I think, 6 years no claim bonus. So £116 to insure it over the year. Again, what's that? Less than a tenner a month. So pretty cheap to run in that respect.
So let's take a look at the lighting on the little Duke 390, shall we? One of its features that I've talked about before that I really love is the fact they've put the modern day light, the same light that they have on the 690 and the big 1290 Super Duke. Let's just have a look at that now, see what it's like during the day. Right, so here we go. Here is the light. It looks amazing, I think. It's got that sort of waspy look about it. And this is in its normal sort of daytime running mode, if you like, or dip beam. If you put it on full, just a simple switch. There we go, that's it on full. The whole array comes alive, LED of course, and cooled by that clever strip of aluminium in the middle that isn't just doesn't just look good, but it's functional as well. So that's what it looks like during the day, and it operates on this switch here. So you can flash it by pressing it, or you can push it forward and then it's on full beam. So that's how it operates. All very well during the day, but what's she like at night? Well, with the magic of YouTube, let's go to some night riding. And as if by magic, night time occurred. And because it's summer, it's not totally pitch black, but and these cameras, as I always say, never show the light scheme very well. But what I have to say on this KTM is that even on dip, the light is absolutely superb. So not only does that front light look absolutely mean, but it's super functional as well. I've driven cars with much lesser lights than that. So that's it on dip at the moment. It's lighting up a nice bit ahead. And if I go to full beam, it's a night into day job. Really lights up the way ahead perfectly well. In fact, that's potentially the best lighting I've seen on a bike. I'm not exaggerating. That is really, really nice. And of course, got the amazing TFT screen lit up in night mode, and as KTM does, as all manufacturers should do in my opinion, they light up the switch gear as well with this white writing or white lighting, which you don't really need on this bike because it's so simple. But what a breath of fresh air that KTM choose to do that. So riding at night then, an absolute pleasure on the little KTM. Amazing light, looks brilliant, works well. Just one more time, there's dip, and there's full beam. Absolutely brilliant. I'm sure the camera's not showing it as good as it is, but take it from me, that is a good headlight as far as a motorcycle goes. Great stuff. So on faster roads, dual carriageways like this, the bike can absolutely hold its own. It cruises along at 70 miles an hour, no problem at all, and it's got loads more to give. If you need to overtake and so on, it'll do considerably more than 70 miles an hour. Wind blast isn't too bad either. It's a naked bike, of course, so you do get wind blast, and there's no fairings or anything like that on the bike. But it's nice and smooth, the air that comes off. You know, it's not going to be a fatiguing bike. I'm used to riding naked bikes, it's not a problem at all for me. The air, as long as the air is not turbulent as it hits you, and it's certainly not on the little Duke, then all is well. So no problem on faster roads, although this one has now slowed down radically.
So one of my favourite pastimes, cleaning the bike. What I've been using of late is this Auto Glim bike cleaner actually, which works very, very well indeed. I'll maybe do a review of that at some point. But anyway, yeah, the bike to clean it, it's I'd say this is one of the more difficult bikes to clean. It's a bit of a pain because there's an awful lot of nooks and crannies with this one, what with that trellis frame and so on to get into. So yeah, you've got to really like your cleaning with this bike. And it's essential that you have a bike dryer as well, just to get into absolutely everything, particularly things like that swing arm where moisture can collect. So yeah, cleaning wise, bit of a pain.
So one of the things I've not done on the little KTM Duke 390 during the few weeks that I've been riding is actually take a pillion on it. Just haven't had the chance, but there's no reason why you couldn't take a pillion on it. The engine, as I say, particularly lower down the box, is very peppy. It's got plenty of go to it, so I don't think there's any issue with power. And in terms of comfort for a pillion, the pillion seat is quite a reasonable sized pad. I've certainly seen a lot smaller, so you know, I wouldn't again recommend taking a pillion on it, you know, as a matter of course day to day. It's not that sort of machine. Again, if you're going to do that, get something a bit bigger, but once in a while taking a pillion on the back wouldn't be a problem on the Duke 390. So what about touring on the little baby Duke then? Well, I can see no reason why you couldn't do some tours on it. I mean, it's not built for doing long distance mileages. I don't think. It's not that sort of bike. But I say no reason at all why you couldn't. You need to take a rucksack because there's no obvious luggage options. There may be some aftermarket top boxes and things you can buy, but a rucksack would do. And if you're going away for a weekend or whatever, then absolutely fine. This bike goes well. It'll be good fun when you get to the twisties, and it'll get you to places pretty quickly. It's fine on motorways and on dual carriageways. So I see no reason at all why you couldn't tour on it.
Okay, so at the start of the video I said that what I was going to do at the end is take you through some of the things that I've learnt about the bike, having now ridden it for a while. And I've made some notes of the pros and cons. So in traditional fashion, I'll start with the negative things I found. No bike is perfect. There are one or two little things about this that I've discovered that I wouldn't have found out about if I'd just done an hour's test ride. So negatives. The TFT screen, I absolutely love it. But as is the case with a number of bikes that I've ridden with these TFT screens, if you have the sun directly behind you, there are certain cases where you can get a real amount of glare off it. Not only does it mean you can't see what's written on the screen, but also it can just blind you a bit. So I've got a little snap of that I took just here, and you can just see that the sun's impinging on the sort of top left of it, but if you get it right in the middle, it can be a right blinder. So that's just a problem that all these bikes with TFT screens have, and that's just something I've noticed. Luckily here in Blighty, we don't get the sun that often, so it's not a big problem. The other thing that I think I mentioned on the initial review is these mirrors. I mean, they work really well, but they look absolutely horrible. I can't be doing with the rubber gaiters around them. They look just, well, I don't know who ever designed them and whoever signed them off. I think they need firing and get somebody else in. So the mirrors, they look horrible. Not a big deal. They work well. That's the main thing. Vibrations. I've heard a number of people talk and ask me about how much vibrations you get on this bike. It being a single, you'd expect it to have a number of vibes. But I have to say, in the main, it's not too bad from a vibration point of view. Certainly better than the RC390, which is its kind of sister bike, if you like. I'd be lying to say there are no vibes. I mean, there are vibes, but they're mainly through the pegs as opposed to through the hands, which I find is a more preferable place to have them. And you can sort of strike it off as character. It's not a big deal. The other thing I've noticed, the gear indicator. It's great that it's got a gear indicator, but there are certain use cases where it doesn't seem to work that well. For example, if you're coming to a rolling stop, or if you're at a standstill trying to find neutral or whatever, sometimes it just doesn't indicate what gear you're in at all, and you have to just let the clutch out to check to see if you're in gear. That's only happened a few times. It's not a big deal, but it's just something I noticed. And then the other thing, I guess, again, not a big deal, but there's no centre stand on the bike. So when you want to lube the chain or do any maintenance on the bike, then you know, you're going to have to prop the bike up one way or other to do that, or move it around on the driveway to lube the chain. So again, minor point, but that's one of the things I found. That's it from the negatives. I have to say, a pretty short list overall. Okay, so what about the positives on the bike then? And there are many, many positives on the bike. It's absolutely a fantastic little bit of kit. Some of the things I particularly noted down as things that I like. Number one, the looks of the bike. I think it looks really mean. I think they've done a great job. For a little bike, for a bike that's A2 licence friendly, you know, the end of the market that sometimes is overlooked for exotic kind of bikes, I think they've done a great job of making this bike look really appealing. I really like its aggressive haunches. I love the light at the front. I just love the way that they've done this bike overall. I think it's my favourite of the A2 licence-friendly bikes that I've ridden to date for sure on looks. Similarly, handling. The thing just handles beautifully. It is lightweight. It's 149 kilograms, I think, dry. So you'd expect it to handle nicely, and it absolutely does. You can really thrash it through the bends and corners. It really is a joy to ride. You know, even if you're used to big, faster bikes, this thing is still great fun, even for experienced riders. The finish and build quality. I just think they've done a great job of putting this bike together. People point out that it's built in India, but that is completely irrelevant in my view. It's built in a factory that obviously knows how to make motorcycles. This thing is certainly not inferior to any other European motorcycle manufacturer that I've experienced. So have no worries about build quality. It looks lovely, the welding's lovely, the finish is lovely, the paint is lustrous. The build quality of this thing is lovely. I mentioned the weight. And also, it's cheap to run. I mentioned earlier the prices for insurance, tax, etc. The only thing that's not particularly cheap about it is its fuel economy. It is quite frugal, I guess, but for a bike of this size, it's not quite as frugal as I thought it was going to be. I'm getting something like, should have had this in the negatives really, 57.5 miles per gallon is the figure I'm getting. I would have expected it to be a little bit better than that, but other than that, to tax and insure, the bike is very cheap, as we talked about before. Oh yeah, and then the other thing that I really like about the bike is with the TFT screen, you've got this phone integration mode. I think it's called KTM My Ride, something like that. And you basically hook your phone up Bluetooth wise, and what you can do, if you've got some earphones, you can listen to music on your phone, you can control it via the handlebars. It even shows you how much battery is left in your phone and whether you've got good phone signal on the TFT screen. Absolutely brilliant. Something that this day and age, it may seem silly, but you know, it's something that concerns a lot of us if we rely on our mobile phones, and who doesn't these days. So those are some of the things that stuck out to me as great about the little KTM 390. So there we have it. That's it for my living with review of the KTM 390 Duke. As you've gathered, I love the bike. It's been great fun to ride, and it's certainly my favourite of the sub 400cc category bikes that I've ridden yet. It's got premium features. It looks great. It goes great. It feels like a top quality bit of kit. Really, really like the 390 Duke. Can't wait now to ride the next KTM. So stick around and stay tuned to the channel. I'll be getting more bikes to review soon, and hopefully you'll join me then. Until then though, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.